Welcome to our class. In this class, we will learn how to work with variables writing code. The JavaScript keyword var is used to create a variable. So you would follow the name of the variable after the keyword var, and using the equal sign or the assignment operator, you would set it to a value, and since that is a statement, it will be followed by a semicolon. So what we are doing, we are declaring a variable called x and assigning it a value of 2. When you assign numeric values, they are not enclosed with quotations. Quotations are reserved for what is referred to as a literal or string value, meaning it is interpreted exactly as it appears. Here we are creating a variable called first name, and we are assigning it a value of Teresa. Notice I have double quotes around Teresa. You can also use single quotes. Notice I am declaring another variable called last name. I am assigning it a value of Pelkie. Notice there are quotations around that word. Notice how I spell the name of the variable first name. I am using the camel case notation, meaning the first word is lowercase, the second word, first letter, is uppercase. Should I wish to use a different notation, such as an underscore, I can do that. If I wish to use no capitalization, I can do that. However, you need to be consistent in how you set up your variable names. It makes it easier to understand in your code. So I will choose the camel case syntax, as this is commonly used when working with JavaScript. It is perfectly okay to declare a variable without assigning it a value. You will also notice that in JavaScript we have what are called Boolean values, and you may see a variable assigned to a true or false value. Notice in this case there are no quotations. We will look at this concept later. The alert method is a very useful way of making sure that your variable values are correct. Notice I can pass an expression to an alert and it will interpret the code inside the parentheses. So if I were to pass it this expression x plus y, we see that x has a value of 2 and y has a value of 4. When I load that, here my alert says 6. If I were to pass my alert the expression x plus z, x equals 2 and z equals 2, but this 2 is a string value, our alert would say 22. The plus sign is used to add numbers or concatenate string values. Since 2 here is a string value, JavaScript will just concatenate or join the two values so that we have 22, as we have just seen. If I were to multiply those two values, x, which is a number 2, and z, which is a string value 2, JavaScript will interpret the value of z as a number because it is impossible to multiply a string value of 2, and notice now we have 4. This is what is known as a loosely typed language, meaning that based on how the value of the variable is being used, JavaScript will interpret the data type. In JavaScript, we have essentially string values, numeric values, and Boolean values. And we do not declare the data type, as JavaScript will interpret it. Now I will pass the expression first name plus last name to my alert. Remember, the variable first name holds the value Teresa. The variable last name holds the value Pelkie. And because these are string values, we cannot numerically add them, So therefore, JavaScript will concatenate or join those two variables. And notice that it also puts those variables right next to each other with no space in between. Should we want a blank space in between, we would need to concatenate an empty string, and now you can see the output. Again, I would like to emphasize that the alert method is a very good way of testing your values before you actually perform calculations or use them in applications. You can also pass string literals with expressions to the alert method to make your alerts more meaningful. So here I am telling myself what I am testing for in this alert because I might have several different expressions that I am testing for. Now I can see exactly that I am testing the value of x plus y and that it is 6. Remember when we declared the variable address, we did not set it to a value, and that is perfectly okay. I would like to show you what the value actually is with respect to JavaScript, how it will interpret that. Notice it says undefined. Now we will write the value to the page using the document object model. So here I have two variables set to numeric values, and I have in my body section a placeholder. Notice I have a span with an ID attribute. Notice these two tags are touching, however, they don't necessarily need to be when we use inner HTML. As we learned earlier, JavaScript does not know where this ID is until it reads it, so therefore we cannot write that value out until the page has completely loaded. Therefore, the statement where we will be writing to the page is enclosed in an anonymous function that will execute after the page has loaded. So here we have the onload event calling an anonymous function, and in those delimiters, this line of code will be executed. So we are referencing that span ID, we are setting the inner HTML property, and we are setting it to this expression, x plus y. And here we see the result in the web page. Notice part of our content is outside of the span. However, we could put this inside our JavaScript statement. So here we have a literal expression concatenated with a mathematical expression. Notice I have a space here because I need that in my web page output. So if I were to save this, you will see that we have indeed executed that statement in the web page. Should we wish to do this using document.write, we would need to place the script tags in the body. Here is our document.write method. And again, we can concatenate a string literal with our mathematical expression. And it works just the same. One thing I would like to point out with respect to the script tag in the body is that it is not a block level element, such as a paragraph tag. It is an inline element. Therefore, if I write the word top and bottom adjacent to the opening and closing script tags, it will show up right next to the content. Again, the script tag is not a block level element. It does not separate what is on top and on the bottom. However, you can write HTML inside it, just to show you. There we go.